The blue light is on. Go. Hey, welcome everybody. This is the Genesee County Compassion Club show. I'm your host, Jeremy, back in the studio here at All Points TV. It is a beautiful spring day. It's the week after 420. What is it, like April 23rd, something like that, John?
24th, yeah.
24th. Brrr, getting through this month quicker than can be. But it's good to be back here in the studio and good to be with you guys as always. I know we got an awesome day going on down at the Genesee County Compassion Club. Sun is shining, and man, I feel like we're still kind of in that hazy recovery mode. You know,
yeah, I mean, after the party.
Yeah, the kind of.
You guys really have to get a lot of stuff done, lined up, and
it does. It takes a lot, and we couldn't do it without our staff. I tell you what, the G3C staff rocked the 420 party. You guys did an awesome job. It's probably the best 420 party we've had yet. One of the best attended events we've ever had. I mean, the food, everything about it was just fantastic. The games, the prizes, the entertainment was top notch. I mean, the caregiver entries, everything. It was just a spectacular party. Our members made it awesome, and like I said, the staff absolutely rocked it. So if you didn't make it to the G3C 420, you definitely missed out. It was a great party. We had Jemmy Hazeman, Big Donut. We had the Jugglers, Reverend Right Time for musical artists. It was awesome. A great job. I want to say congratulations to our caregiver entries. We had Tristan, who won Best Flower category. Best, edible was Jessica, or Jess. And Best Concentrate was 10-Star Met. It's Ashley. You guys, all of your entries are amazing. All of the entries were really amazing. And I know a number of the top place finishers were only separated by a point or two in the judging system. So congrats really to all of our caregivers that entered. I know I made a post earlier, but I was really impressed by the quality of meds at the 420 party. I mean, the guys just over the top notch quality and everything under the sun that you can imagine. I mean, there's just not anything that caregivers can't do. It's really, really impressive. So kudos to everybody who showed up. Thank you so much for everybody who came out and enjoyed our 420 party. And we'll be looking to do another wonderful event on 7/10. So you can mark your calendars for that. We've got some stuff coming up in the meantime I want to make sure I mention. So I'll get those out of the way. We got our soup kitchen coming up. Of course, it's the third Tuesday of every month. We serve lunch. So that'll be coming up here in May. So we've got a little time before that happens. Also, we've got our golf league forming. I think that starts up pretty soon. And softball starts next week. So for all of you that are playing in the sports leagues this summer, good luck. Don't break anything. Make sure you stretch. All right. Drink lots of water, all that good stuff, and good luck, teams. So yeah, lots of fun stuff. Getting ready to get into the summer. I know a lot of you folks out there are probably starting to prep your outdoor gardens. Maybe even popping beans right now. It's that time of year. So if you're on the seed hunt, I can recommend a couple different places. One of my favorites personally is called Altitude. I get it confused with the other big name, but Altitude Seeds. They're right out of here in Michigan. I love these guys. So check them out if you haven't heard of them. You can go online and you might even catch them in the club. But there's one place to access beans, and there's a lot of them out there, as you well know. But this is definitely that time of year. So good luck if you're bean popping. I hope you get some big babies. I hope they're girls, and I hope they're the phenos that you're searching for. All right? All right. So that's what's up with the club. Lots of good stuff, lots of fun times. The food at the 420 party was spectacular. I really got to say thank you very much to our staff in the kitchen there. The chicken, the meatballs, they're so good, so good. John, I'm sorry you couldn't be there, buddy.
Yeah, I was dealing with a leaky roof here.
yes, indeed. And that's something I want to bring to you guys' attention. If you've been watching the podcast or paying attention at all, past 10 years. All Points TV has been right here for us, allowing us to do this podcast from their studios with no charge. I mean, basically, John's here every week out of the goodness of his heart. The studio set up here lets us do our thing and keep you guys informed. And right now, the studio needs a little help. The roof is leaking, and so we're going to be trying to raise some money to help get the roof fixed. This is a very humble operation. It's not big fancy studio, even though it looks top notch. And we want to try to do what we can to keep it going. So if you guys can help out at all, any monetary donations would be greatly appreciated. I know right here at All Points TV. The money goes directly to fixing the roof. There's no BS. John's not taking a cut. But any help that you could help us out with, we would greatly appreciate it. And All Points TV serves, I think, an important service here in Flint, and allowing us to bring you news free of advertisement, free of influence, and just allow a platform for people to come in and share their views. We've had, over the years, we've had all kinds of people in here in this studio, from mayors and senators and representatives and a lot of different important decision-making people, a lot of business people as well, and then a lot of people just from the community who are trying to make a difference, trying to make an impact. And this place serves that purpose. So let's keep it going, and any help you can give would be greatly appreciated. I know that. So just want to make a mention of that. Okay. Man, I can't stop talking about the 420 party because I had such a good time. And I just really didn't want it to end. We had just a wonderful, great day. And I thought it was really cool. I mean, we were not the only place around the state that was partying down. I know that they had a very large celebration going on at the Auto City Speedway. I think it was called Kush Fest or something like that. I heard it was a very well-attended event, very well put on. So congrats to everybody out there that participated in that. I mean, it's just great to see this continue to grow, to see it be continued to be accepted in the community. And, really Genesee County is sort of the hot spot in Michigan for cannabis. It's undisputed. There's no other area in the state that has the proliferation of cannabis that this county does. And a lot of that's been in work due in part to your work, your guys' efforts. And you being there at the beginning and being there still now today. You guys made that happen. So, when people think of California, they think of Humboldt County. And I think when they think of Michigan, they're going to think of Genesee County. So that's pretty cool.
Your organization, the Compassion Club's got you got a membership base of how many now?
Like 36,000.
That's amazing. I mean, and I know people who live in other counties who are members of the Compassion Club.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we're drawing people from around the state, and not just us, but other venues as well. And I mean, that just is a testament to Genesee County and the caregivers and the community that is here present in it. You guys rock, and I have been told and seen for myself when you go out to other states like Colorado and California, places where, cannabis is pretty prevalent. Michigan holds its own, especially Genesee County caregivers. I mean, the quality in some cases it's not comparable. Ours is superior. And in some cases, the best of the best out there is simply just as good as you get right here in Genesee County. So that's a testament to the industry and to you guys. So good job, kudos. It's a wonderful thing to be able to say, for sure. All right, let's get on with some news. I want to share with you some things that have been going on. And I'll start out here with Michigan. Today, if you're not aware, there's supposed to be a protest going on at the Capitol. If I get any feeds while I'm here in the studio of any fresh news, I'm going to be, trying to share this with you. But I don't know that there's that much going on as of now. If there is, I'll let you know. But at any rate, there was supposed to be a rally at the Capitol today, and this was supposed to be put on by Green Peak Innovations. So let me pull up this article here, and I'll share with you what we have. This was featured in the Detroit Free Press, also in a couple other newspapers, Lansing Journal, and so on. And essentially what is happening is Green Peak Industries was trying to arrange some sort of industry protest to the state. And the reason for the protest is simply to try to stop these unlicensed centers from continuing to be able to operate, and to stop the licensed centers from buying their supplies from caregivers. Green Peak would rather have you buy their supplies from them. But at any rate, let me get into this article. I'll read it for you, and you guys can make your own assessment. But I'll start out here. The biggest marijuana grow operation in Michigan is putting a full court press against unlicensed medical marijuana dispensaries and the caregivers who are supplying the market with weed. Green Peak Innovations, which has a large grow facility near Lansing, had a press conference Tuesday and is planning a rally at the Capitol today, and placed a full-page ad in the Detroit Free Press, Detroit News, and Lansing State Journal to press its case. It wants unlicensed dispensaries shut down, and the caregivers who have been supplying both licensed and unlicensed dispensaries with weed, they want them shut out of the market. The caregivers who are the people who have been growing marijuana since voters legalized it in 2008, blah, blah, blah. The article goes on. Enough is enough, says Green Peak Innovations CEO Jeff Radway. Michigan patients deserve tested and safe cannabis, are his comments. Says here in the article, but while several state recalls have mostly come from caregiver products, there haven't been any reports of adverse health effects from those products, says Andrew Brisboe, who's the director of the marijuana regulation. The product is also okay with some of the consumers, says Jerry Millen, owner of Greenhouse Dispensary in Walled Lake. His customers have to acknowledge in writing that they will accept untested marijuana grown by caregivers. And he says nobody flinches. They've been using the product for years, and they haven't gotten sick from it yet. The state has been trying to shut down these unlicensed dispensaries and curtail the caregiver products since September, but the Department of Licensing Regulatory Affairs has been thwarted by lawsuits and judicial orders that have allowed them to continue to operate. You guys know the backstory, so I'm not going to read all of this article. Let me get into some more of these things that I think you'll be interested in, though. And it says, the state mandated that we go through their rigorous and extensive licensing process, Executive Vice President Joe Neller said. We then hired over 170 people and built a fully operational 60,000 square foot state-of-the-art facility in Windsor Township so our quality could be grown in a clean, contaminant-free environment. Now they are allowing untested product from caregivers to be sold to patients, and that is totally unacceptable, so he says. The situation may be resolved by the end of the week. When it comes to these unlicensed dispensaries, the Court of Claims Judge Stephen Borrello, who has allowed them to stay open, is expected to make yet another ruling on them by Friday. The State House of Representatives passed a bill last week with a vote of 102 to 4 to require unlicensed dispensaries to shut down by June 1st. And the bill is expected to get a hearing soon in the state Senate. I'll give you a little bit more insight. This is a campaign that has been launched by Green Peak Industries for the next 30 days. They plan on using billboards, newspaper print. Of course, they're using lobbying efforts as well to get these dispensaries that are not yet licensed to be shut down and to stop the allowed sale of caregiver products to these licensed and unlicensed facilities. So that's what they're trying to do. Let me get into some more of this here, because this was in here. That was from the Detroit Free Press. This is from the Lansing State Journal. A 30-day campaign on Wednesday that will encourage the state to shut down unlicensed marijuana dispensaries and unlicensed establishments and follow through with the rules they initially made. It talks about the Judge Borrello, blah, blah, blah. And then Jeff Radway, again, the CEO of Green Peak Innovations, says allowing unlicensed businesses to remain open is dangerous. It's resulted in unsafe, untested, and quite frankly, illegal products, says Jeff Radway, CEO of Green Peak. Radway said GPI, a state-licensed company, hasn't been able to sell the marijuana it's grown since January because licensed marijuana establishments have found it easier and cheaper to buy their supply from caregivers who don't need commercial growing licenses. He says he has about 2,000 pounds of marijuana available immediately right now. And then he goes on to say it's not about price gouging patients. We're actually about access, says Radway. And then I want to share this part with you too. It says prior to the new regulatory and mandated state store closures, the news release said the average price of untested and unsafe medical marijuana was $42.40 per eighth. That's 3.5 grams. GPI's, this is Green Peak, of course, new price structure with taxes, regulatory fees, transport, and technology, on average, will be just 6% higher to consumers, according to their news release. So let's back up a little bit here and talk about this article. This Jeff Radway, CEO of Green Peak Innovations, Green Peak Innovations is the parent company that owns and holds this growing facility that they're talking about, 60,000 square foot facility that was built in Lansing. Green Peak is also the holder of 16 dispensary licenses that they've been approved for in the state of Michigan, and their dispensaries plan to market themselves under the name of Sky Mint dispensaries. And right now, he is saying that he has 2,000 pounds of cannabis sitting in stock in weight that he's been unable to sell. It's been available since January, and feels that he cannot sell it due to the fact that he's being undercut by caregivers. He goes on to blame and say that caregivers are unsafe, it's untested, and that they're illegal. But other than that, he goes on to say that, well, it's not about money, it's about access. Well, I mean, this man is obviously clearly filled with a lot of oxymorons and is having trouble spelling out the truth, because everything out of his mouth right now is pretty much a lie.
Well, when I was hearing that, I was like saying, God, you got to shut these other people down, because I'm sitting on this stuff, and I was too stupid to actually see the way the things were running now, and would jumped the gun, and now I thought I was going to be the only sole provider, and now I'm stuck with a lot of pot that I can't unload.
You're absolutely right, John. And I think that I'm glad that the State Journal put this article out. I'm glad that the Detroit Press put it out as well, because I think anybody who reads this article, it's very easy and clear to see that the only thing these people are concerned about is their bottom line. For him to go on and say that, he's not trying to price gouge patients and that it's all about access. I mean, he's saying one thing and he's doing the opposite. It's very clear. And again, going back to their market research, $42.40 for an eighth of cannabis is well above the average price for cannabis right now. So for him to think that that's the number and that he's going to be able to market his at an even higher price, which he says on average 6% higher, he's not even doing his numbers right. So it looks to me like there's some poor business planning, poor market data, misunderstanding of the market itself. And now he's trying to make up these shortcomings by simply cementing in his monopoly. And that's kind of why we have this posted here today. I mean, this is very clear. And I don't think that anyone who reads this is going to have trouble seeing between the lines. These guys have gone out. VB of Chesaning also was quoted in the paper last week saying that they had a similar problem. They've got products sitting on the shelf. They can't move it. They might have to lay off employees already, and the company's only been in business for 90 days. This is poor business planning, and it is not on the fault of patients and caregivers. And it's not on the fault of the state either. And they can blame whoever they want. This is poor business planning. These guys did not understand the market they were entering in. They were talking to people who were considered to be experts but had no real experience. And now you're going to pay the price. And the price may be, for some of these places, bankruptcy. That might be the thing that ends up being in their future. And if you look at other places out west, that has been the case as well. Colorado has seen an enormous amount of medical marijuana businesses and marijuana businesses that have started up in the past 10 years and have fallen flat on their face. And Oregon, Washington, same thing. And Michigan is ultimately going to have the same thing. It's a natural part of business. But I think we're sort of seeing this boat get rocked real early, if you will. And you cannot discount the market that was built the previous 10 years before these guys existed. You have a strong network here in Michigan of caregivers and patients, and they're not just going to go away. Even if they're not allowed to participate in your licensed system, they're not going to just go away. And they are going to be a competitor to your licensed product, whether you like it or not. And as the article went in and pointed out in the Detroit Press paper, this dispensary owner in Walled Lake who said, hey, look, I've had patients who've been using this product for years. It wasn't tested then. It's not tested. Nobody's gotten sick from it. Not any complaint. What's the point? And I understand that when this legislation was put through, testing was a big part of it. Oh, they wanted to ensure safety for patients. And in reality, that's baloney, because patients aren't getting sick off from caregivers' products.
You know, there's an analogy, like right now, I don't know if you ever pay attention, but on Facebook and other places for the social media, they put recalls of frozen foods and because of like, E. coli or other types of contamination or whatever. Well, gee, and that's a heavily regulated, industry, the food industry, right?
Absolutely.
So, okay, so if you got all these people getting sick and dying from stuff that's already been been sniffed at by the government, approved of or not, what makes them think that because you're going to put it in the hands of corporations is going to bypass the safety issues? You're not. Matter of fact, all you're going to do is have more payload, more cover-up. When you have a small producer out there who's been discovered to put forward a bad product, they're going to go out of business real soon. Mm-hmm. So they're not going to have to worry about public outcry or something and get the FDA on board. Those people are already going to be shut down because they simply can't afford to keep going on.
Absolutely.
So I mean, that's what the thing is. See, I'm a libertarian, and we believe in that the free market is a lot better in a lot of ways than the federal government in regulating everything. Because look at the the pharmaceutical companies. Every week you see something be released, and then 6 months later, 8 months later, you see these lawyers out there advertising, "Hey, if you've been affected by this, and this, contact us," and part of a class action lawsuit. And all those drugs that cause those problems were officially declared okay to use by the FDA.
By the FDA. There's a legitimate argument going on right now of why do we even have the FDA? Why do we even have it when these products continue to be recalled, so on and so forth? It just, what's the purpose of it? It's not protecting anybody really because we continue to have these issues. And cannabis, thankfully, is not as nearly dangerous as many of the pharmaceutical products that are out there, products that are approved by the FDA, ironically. Even if it is grown and does have some contaminants and so on and so forth, the things that may come along with that are not nearly as dangerous as these, again, FDA-approved substances, or in some cases, the substances that are sitting on your grocery store shelves. Really, it's... These guys out there, whether it be Green Peak or VB, whoever it may be, we knew that this was going to happen, that they were going to run into these issues. We knew that the market data they were talking about was skewed from the beginning, and they continued to underestimate the current market for cannabis in Michigan, somehow thinking that market is just going to disappear because now they paid for a license. And I would say to those folks, don't you realize that these caregivers paid for their license too? And I know a lot of them would say, well, come on, a $25 fee or $60 fee doesn't compare to my $60,000 fee. But their investment was everything. A lot of these caregivers that went out and did this, they put everything they had into this. And no, they may not have paid the same amount to the state, but they put their whole life on the line. Many of them were still worried about being put in jail. In fact, most of them were. Many of them took every penny they had and sank it into their grow operation, and still do to this day. So when you talk about investment, realize that you're talking about people who went all in. It wasn't just a portion of their portfolio that they stuck aside and hoped that their money would make money. It was put everything on the line and hope that you can eat on Friday.
Look at the people who just actually are out in the forefront trying to get marijuana legalized. We've heard of some.
Absolutely.
I mean, these people.
And where were these people, then?
Right. Well, yeah, exactly. Now these suits who are basically, wait a minute, they were scornful of, and I get admit, I figured years ago.
Just like this guy says, it's all about access. Well, all about access as long as you're the one providing it, right?
Right.
And it's just, it's gross.
So what he's basically saying is, I was really stupid and paid this huge fee, and now I want to make sure I recoup and regain all the money I put plus then some. Oh, yeah. And now the way the situation is, I'm not promised that, and I want that promise. Well, who's promised anything?
Yeah. No, absolutely right. So I am hoping that people will be able to clearly, easily see that this is just simply a cry from a fat cat. And it'll be interesting to see. Now, I can tell you that our legislature is influenced by these guys and by their lobbyists. I mean, look, the House already passed their side. You saw the vote, 102-4. The fact that they're even looking at this as an issue tells you that they're being heavily lobbied, because the normal overall attitude in the legislature right now is they don't want to talk about marijuana. All right. They've been talking about it for too long. The state did what they wanted to do. The people got to vote. Let them hash it out. We got other things to worry about. So if they are, in fact, doubling back and then dealing with this as an important issue of the day, it's because they're being lobbied to do so, and lobbied heavily. So I don't trust the legislature. I think that they very well could step up, pass this bill, say these places got to close, caregivers can't be used anymore, and put a deadline to it that can't be changed. That very well could happen, and we may see that June 1st if they decide to pass this through. And that's going to be completely over the top of whatever the judge decides here in 2 days. So I don't have faith in that, but I do have faith in the consumer. Because as it's been pointed out, I think as it's very clear, a consumer walks into a store and if the price for their medicine, again, we're talking about patients here, is let's say $45 for that eighth of medicine, and they can go around the corner and get it for $20 or $25, where do you think they're going to go? Because they know that the untested product isn't going to make them sick. All right, you're not going to fool them. They've been using this stuff for years. So whatever rhetoric you want to spew to try to convince them that yours is worth $20, $25 more, you're not going to convince them because they know better, which is a beautiful thing. So yes, we do have an educated consumer here in Michigan, and we are aware, and I would say we're watching you. You know what I mean? We're watching you, fat cats. And I hope that this type of rhetoric here, doing a protest at the Capitol and launching a 30-day campaign and so on, I hope it blows up in their face and that people realize these are the kind of people you don't want to support, all right? Because they would take food out of your mouth if they could sell it back to you. And that's the truth. So, all right, moving on here. You guys can check out that article. It's all over the news right now. It's all over Facebook and Instagram, whatever. Just remember the names, Green Peak Industry and Sky Mint Dispensaries, because those are the guys there that they prefer you just get it from them. You can make your own decision on what to do. Other states, let's move on here. Alabama. Man, the South continues to surprise me. I really thought that they were going to hang on longer to prohibition, but they are moving forward. The Senate Judiciary Committee in Alabama passed a medical marijuana bill. So lo and behold, Alabama. But obviously it's not law yet. This was just a Senate committee. It's got a long ways to go. It says it would allow people with certain conditions to use medical marijuana, medical cannabis. It passed with 6-2 vote, with 3 lawmakers abstaining. Good grief. We're not going to make a vote. It creates the CARE Act, which allows people with certain conditions to receive a card in order to use marijuana. Conditions include your typical cancer, chronic pain, autism, stuff like that. It says here, it also creates the Alabama Medical Cannabis Commission, which sets up a patient registry. The commission will provide licenses for cultivation, processing, transporting, packaging, selling, blah, 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 blah. And let's see here. They got their typical spewing from the police department, so on and so forth. A couple people supporting, like a couple doctors and stuff. It's really interesting to watch and to listen to the debates and so on, because you got to, here we are, this is Alabama. They're talking about whether or not they should have medical marijuana. So we're not talking about recreational, we're talking about medical. And you have to realize there's still people down there in Alabama that have, MS, chronic pain, cancer, stuff like this, where cannabis would be the obvious choice solution. And the alternative is opioids. Realize that. And yet we're still debating, people in Alabama are still debating on whether or not they should have medical marijuana. It's just, it's like people driving around in a car on this side of the street, and on the other side of the street, they're arguing about whether or not they should call this thing a wheel. Just wake up. Alabama, moving slow, and hopefully the patients down there can get some relief.
But if you compare this to alcohol, there are some counties in the South. I think Alabama's got some
still
counties,
dry.
Still dry.
Yeah.
And how many years was after Prohibition? So
but again,
we're moving pretty fast.
Talking about recreational here.
I know,
we're talking about medicinal.
I know, but see, they just have a standard where they're very slow to adopt a change. So, I think
very slow.
Yeah. But I still think that's promising. You can see it as a negative, but I can see that because I knew a lot of friends from the South. Yeah.
You're right, John. And I don't want to take away from the positivity of patients being able to get access Whether it be today, tomorrow, 10 years down the road, it's better for them to get it at some point than not at all. That's for certain. But I do have to point out, here that it's, like showing a calculator to a person from the Stone Age.
Right. It's, like you said, but I said, I believe it's made some rapid inroads. If you compare that to that, of course, then again, alcohol, I can't see any medicinal use for it. But some people probably say it's medicinal because if they didn't have it, they'd probably go around
during
killing people.
Prohibition. It was absolutely medicinal. Okay.
Yeah, I think there's some benefits from drinking, probably, and a moderate thing, but define moderation, But
Absolutely, and you could say a lot of things are medicinal. People self-medicate. I had a friend years ago, a young person who suffered from a heart attack, and part of his therapy afterwards was drink 2 drinks a day. That was what his doctor told him because he needed to keep his blood thin. So I don't know if that'd be the recommended thing nowadays or whatever, but things can be used differently, of course. But it's flooring when you think about the fact that, okay, the alternative to not having medical marijuana, we got to rewind here in our minds, because here in Michigan, we've been on this train for 10 years, and it has left the building. You know what I mean? We are on the path, but there's still people back here in, the Stone Age where, okay, if you are in this position and you need medical marijuana, your choices are either nothing, opioids, or go to jail. It's insane when you think about it now, especially for those of us that have been living in this new age, if you will, for 10 years here in Michigan or more in some other states, to think about the fact that, okay, right now your law says if Joe Blow down there is suffering from cancer on his deathbed and he smokes a joint, you got to take him to jail. It's archaic. So, yes, I'm glad there's change happening. Is it slow? Yes, it's slow. All right, let's move on to another state. Also a little bit south, but not quite as far south. Illinois, they have a bill to legalize marijuana in Illinois. It could be filed as early as April 29th. They've already legalized medical marijuana, so this is for recreational. It was a pilot program in 2013. In 2016, lawmakers decriminalized possession of small amounts, took away jail time, just instituted fines, lowered the fines, and now they're saying that they want to legalize it for adults. The governor says he supports the idea, so we'll see what happens. They say that the bill could be filed as early as April 29th. Of course, it's going to have to go through all the regular rigmarole of a legislature, just like it does here in Michigan. Okay, so all right, that's basically the news for the day. I want to share with you guys. This situation in Michigan, we're going to see how this plays out, and it's going to be on a relatively short timetable. The bill to shut these places down is June 1st. That's what the bill's for. What the judges, Judge Borello, the court claims judge who's dealing with this issue as well, what he decides, nobody knows. That's going to be his own factor. And I think that initially, the pause in the shutdown was because of a lack of supply. The grow places like Green Peak or VB of Chesaning, they did not have enough of a supply to even allow these licensed dispensaries to be supplied. In other words, you walk in and there'd be 2 choices or maybe no choices at all. And for a patient, that's horrible selection, especially comparatively to what they could be choosing from. Now these places have upped their production. They've been online for a little longer, and they have obviously an inventory available for these new licensed places, but none of that solves the core issue here, which is overregulation by the state, too many state officials putting their hands in pockets. We're dealing with people who are paying now a $60,000+ fee annually for one of these licenses. And there's no way that the state could justify the cost of that fee. There's no way that a township or the state can justify, $5,000 application fees. There's just no way that there's a cost correlated to what these fees are being charged. And ultimately, it does get passed on down to the patient. And patients are not willing to pay these atrocious fees, especially when you consider the fact that they are patients. It is for their medicinal purposes. And to, project your corporate outlook based on the profitability of a patient, I think is a pretty gross thing to do. If you were doing this on the recreational market, I'd say more power to you. But we are dealing with patients, and that's all that we have here in Michigan right now. And companies like this that think it's okay to bend them over and take as much advantage as possible as the market will allow of a person, I hope they get what they deserve. I hope they get it. So, all right, guys, that's what I have for you for this week for the podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you'll join us again. Hope you'll support All Points TV and check out some of their other podcasts. Maybe consider helping us out here with the roof. Definitely would appreciate that. And I hope you guys are enjoying this wonderful weather. All right, get out there and enjoy your spring. It's finally here. Hopefully to stay for a little while longer. Got the sports leagues forming. Should be lots of fun coming up. And hey, how about that new French toast? Is that stuff delicious or what? John, you got to get down there and try out our new French toast.
Oh, that's a growing concern?
Oh, yeah.
It's like, yeah, your sandwiches. What, you still got all the sandwiches too, right?
Oh, it's still got all the sandwiches. Yeah.
Good.
But it's not on the menu yet, so you got to ask for it.
Okay.
All right. It will be soon.
I love French toast.
Dude, it's the bomb.
I haven't had it in several months.
And we have a chorizo burrito.
Okay.
And it's got to weigh at least a pound.
So I have to check my cholesterol before doing that. But
Well, the chorizo will help clean you out. No,
you can't. The cholesterol will stick around longer because it's going right out anyway.
Fire away. So, no, we do have some new delicious items there down at the G3C. If you haven't been in a while, please check out our menu. The food is absolutely delicious, and we will certainly help you out with enhancing your appetite. So, all right, guys, thanks for being with me on the show this week. I definitely appreciate it. All Points TV rocks. G3C rocks. And I love you guys. It's a wonderful community to be a part of. So, you guys have a great week. Catch you next one.